Ultimately, if you want to know what shapes it all, think about this. When people fail to achieve what they want, what's their reason? What do people tell you? Why did you fail to achieve your goal? I remember a few years ago, I got invited to speak at a group called TED, T-E-D. It means Technology, Entertainment, and Design. Great, great organization, and you can even go online and watch many of the films. They attract people from all the world to do an 18-minute talk, something you might guess I've never done in my lifetime. But they bring it in and have people talk on various subjects, and they bring in the best of the best in anthropology and design and psychology and physiology and science, and it's just an amazing place. And so, and the people that attend are about 1,000 people. And the 1,000 people attend are like the best of the best. They're, the guys that started Google, the people who started Yahoo, the individuals who are some of the greatest futurists alive today, some of the greatest technologists, some of the greatest intellectuals, leaders and movers and shakers from the entertainment business, from politics. So I'm thinking, I got 18 minutes. How do I get these guys going? So my first question was, everyone loves to talk about their successes, but who here has failed? And I raised my hand, and nobody raised their hand. I said, well, thanks for your full participation. I said, come on, be honest. Who here has ever failed? I said, if you don't raise your hand, you lie about other things too. And so sure enough, everybody starts raising their hand. And I said, so here's my question. When you failed, why did you fail? Why did you fail? And so it was kind of quiet. I said, just shout it out. And somebody said, well, we didn't have the right technology. And somebody else shouted out, well, we didn't have enough time. And somebody else said, we didn't have the capital resources, also known as money. Somebody else said, well, we didn't have the right people. I said, that's what most managers tell me. I didn't have the right people. Most people say, we didn't have the right manager. Everybody kind of had that nervous laugh. And more things kept flashing out faster and faster. And then all of a sudden I heard a voice in the darkness that said, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. And there was this pause, and all of a sudden people started laughing and then clapping. And I looked down in the front row in the darkness, and there was Vice President Al Gore. And he laughed, everybody kind of giggled, and I said, wow. That's one way of explaining why you failed to achieve your goal to be president. But I said, let's look a little deeper. Everyone here is given reasons, and I've used some of these too, so I'm not pointing any fingers here. But what are these reasons? I didn't have the time. I didn't have the technology. We didn't have the right contacts. We didn't know the right people, in other words. We didn't have the tools. We had the wrong leaders. Everybody's got their list, but what do all these things have in common? I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. What do all these things have in common? And all of a sudden, there's a pause, and somebody said it. They're all resources. I said, that's right. The biggest illusion we have in life of why we fail to achieve something is we start to believe that we're missing the resources. And what I can tell you, having lived 3 decades working with the most successful human beings on the face of the earth, I'm talking about titans of business, the most powerful political leaders. I'm talking about everybody from a Nelson Mandela, a Mother Teresa, a Princess Diana, a Gorbachev. I'm talking about President Clinton. People from every walk of life, going to sports, the Agassiz, the Gretzkys, these days the Chuck Liddells and Ultimate Fighting. I've been through all of them, worked with them all directly. I've got to get in their mind. I've got to ask Gorbachev, what ended the Cold War? I've got to hear from people's point of view, what has shaped the destiny of this country and of this world? And you know what I find out as I dig under it all in my own experience as well? Resources are never the real problem. The real problem is a lack of resourcefulness. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is you can get the resources if you're resourceful enough. And what makes us resourceful? You got it. Human emotion. We're either unresourceful or resourceful based on the habit of emotions that we use most often. Do you get yourself in the habit where you get frustrated, tired, overwhelmed, angry real easily, or bored? Or is your habit more determination, courage, playfulness, interesting, curious, courageous? Where do you spend more time? See, think about it. If you don't have the money, but you are creative enough, can you find a way to get the money? The answer is yes. Anyone who's ever succeeded has done it. If you don't know how to get through it, the obstacle seems absolutely impenetrable. You can't change it, but you're determined enough. Will you find the way? If you have enough determination, enough flexibility, enough creativity, the answer is yes. If you don't know what to do and you need help and you care enough, there's enough caring, enough love, enough caring for other people, you bet you can find someone who will help you. So I said, it's never the resources that's the real problem. It's the lack of resourcefulness. It's a lack of emotional strength or emotional fitness. You didn't use all you're capable of. And I said, so let's look here, Vice President Gore. I said, I watched you last night give a speech on global warming. This was prior to the movie An Inconvenient Truth coming out, by the way. I said, I saw a passion in you last night that moved me. I remember years ago, you and W. Bush having a debate. And I can remember vividly wanting to vote for you, but I couldn't because there was just no emotion, no passion, and nothing like this. If you would have had half the passion you had last night, you would have had my vote, and you never, I guarantee you in our society, you never would have needed any Supreme Court justices to be able to make a vote for you to be president of the United States. And the whole crowd went crazy. They started making noise and clapping like crazy. And this is a democratic environment. And he came up and he gave me a high five. And I said, of course, that's just me making my judgments telling you how you should run for president, something I've never had the ability to do. I said, my point is deeper, though. My point is, it's our resourcefulness. And if we can get that, we don't have to make ourselves wrong. We can find the resources to get the answer to go where we want to go. I mean, that's what makes it happen. That's what J.K. Rowling did to get herself where she is. I mean, think about this woman. Here's a woman that was shy, so shy that when she came up with the idea to even consider writing this book, right, this concept of Harry Potter, she was on a train and she was too shy to ask for a pen, so she forgot parts of it. And then hopefully, finally it came to her again. This is a woman who, was a school teacher who left and went to Portugal to become an English teacher there and met a man and fell in love and had her first child, Jessica. But you know what? He was the wrong guy. Good people sometimes aren't the right people as a mix, and they fought so bad that, as I understand it, she was thrown out of the house. Came back to England in 1994 with her tail between her legs, broke, no job. And she said, I'm going to write stories. Some of the stories she told her daughter that her daughter loved, she tested them out there and she thought, I'm going to write these. But everybody said, are you crazy? Nobody makes any money writing children's books. You better get a day job. You better go become a school teacher. Go become an English teacher here. And so, something inside of her just wouldn't give up. Something inside of her. She's on welfare. At one point, it looked like she was going to have to sleep in her car with her child. But she wouldn't give up. Something in her mindset, something in her was resourceful enough to find some creativity. That's all she had. Her only resource was passion, imagination, creativity. But she converted that into a story. And by the way, when she went out and took that first book out to everybody, did people just jump all over and go, oh my God, this is the greatest children's book of all time? The company in the UK that actually bought the rights to her book gave her £1,500, which these days might be worth about $3,000. And they only published 1,000. 1,500, by the way, went to the libraries. Nobody thought it was going to go. And then it caught fire. In fact, today, if you had one of those original 1,000, that first printing, they're worth $50,000 each. In her last printing of her last book, the 7th book, it sold 11 million copies in 24 hours. That never happened in human history. She has sold more than 400 million Harry Potter books. 400 million. And the woman who was on welfare, who had no resources, is now a billionaire. Come on. Don't sell yourself short ever again. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, you can't make any money writing children's stories. Until you come up with your way of finding your gift. And I'm not saying you have to do something that makes $1 billion, but you got to do something that moves you. I mean, how does a guy like Stephen Hawking shape our understanding of the universe when at 21 years old, at the time most people have the most optimism for the life, he's taken out literally at the knees. He's told in his 3rd year of college, you have ALS. You're losing all muscle function. You will become a quadriplegic. You will probably die within the year. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not superhuman any more than you or I are. I mean, he was devastated. He was destroyed. That's part of what life does to just remind us what we're capable of. And the old phrase, it's so corny, but it's true. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. If you can find a meaning, a reason to live, something incredible can come from this. That never would have happened if he was just given a bunch of gifts. And the ultimate gift he got when he felt like he had no reason to live, he was depressed out of his mind, felt dead inside even before he'd physically died, completely depressed. God stepped in and gave him the greatest gift you can hope for. The right woman in his life, a woman who loved him and fell in love with him after he had the disease. A woman who saw his soul, and that gave him a reason to live. If you ever hear emotion in me when I talk about relationship, it's because I've never been at that point, but I can tell you what, I have the same depth of appreciation and knowing of what it means to have someone who you love and who worships you. My point is simple. She gave him a compelling future, a reason to live. He decided that whatever time I've got here, I'm going to live it loving completely. And he wanted to leave a legacy that she and everyone would be proud of. He wanted to give something back. If you want to know how to become emotionally fit, get out of yourself. Hawking decided he wanted to make sure that he left a legacy that could touch all human beings. And so he started digging in. His father always told him, don't be a mathematician. It's a waste of time. Study chemistry. And he did. And ironically became one of the greatest mathematicians of all time. And all of a sudden he starts having these insights. He starts utilizing these breakthroughs. He starts showing us how the universe could have been created. And sure enough, in 1985, after all he's been through, how could life do this? How could a God do this? He has pneumonia. And he doesn't die because they give him a tracheotomy. And he loses his voice. But you know what? If you're emotionally fit, if you're psychologically strong enough, if you realize it's not resources, it's resourcefulness, this man got so resourceful. What'd he do? He found a way to get a machine to be his voice. And ironically, Stephen Hawking is now the voice of the cosmos. See, none of us have faced, I shouldn't say none of us, it's unlikely if you're hearing my voice that you faced challenges anything close to what Stephen Hawking has faced. What's life like without inspiration? What's an uninspired life like? Dead. Inspired, by the way, means in spirit. When you're in your own spirit, when you're connected to spirit, when you're connected to your deepest self and whatever you believe has made you in this world, boy, there's amazing things you can do. So the ultimate edge is the capacity to appreciate, the ability to find joy, the ability to find fulfillment. I mean, if you want to know the 2 master lessons of life, I'll give them to you in the most simple way I know how. No matter who I've met and where I've gone in life, people that master life have mastered these 2 things. Most have only mastered one at best. The first master lesson of life is the science of achievement. And if you think I'm talking too much about really being fulfilled, I spent the first whole segment of my life figuring out how do I get from where I am to where I want to be? You know, how do I really finally step up and achieve what I'm after? How do I transform my body? How do I really find the relationship and then make that relationship not just okay, but passionate and alive and fulfilling? You know, what do I do to really be the best father possible? How do I make money? Enough money you don't have to worry about it anymore, you know, until the next challenge in the economy or thing that brings it up. You know, most people just have not been able to achieve what they want. And I want you to know achievement is a science. There are very specific things that if you do them, your body will transform in terms of its energy or its health or its fitness. And everyone's unique. But trust me, as unique as we are, there are certain laws of the body that if you ignore those laws, you're going to have pain. You're going to have dis-ease, as they call it, dis-ease in your body. If there are certain laws, if you follow them, you're going to have a boost of energy, an expansion of your energy. You're going to have vitality. You're going to have strength. There are certain laws of life, laws of money. No matter what your age, your color, your background, your religious background, beliefs, it doesn't matter. If you do certain things, if you sow a certain way, you will reap. And it doesn't matter. You can do this in good times and bad times of the economy and still do well. You know, everybody knows that, you know, no matter how tough it may be, if you look at history, the people that became most wealthy, who started with nothing, did it during the Depression. The Carnegies, the Rockefellers, look at them all. The people that literally found a way. So there's a science to making money. And we're going to walk through that science. That's a big part of what Get the Edge is and a part of what personal power is. But the second master lesson of life is equally important, and I frankly think even more important. That doesn't mean you don't master the first one, but you got to master the second one for a great life. And the second master lesson is the art of fulfillment. And notice I didn't say the science of fulfillment, the art of fulfillment. See, fulfillment is an art. The capacity to feel alive, to feel happy, to feel a sense of meaning in your life. That's an art. And the reason it's an art is, you know, science is the same for everybody. But art is different for everyone. You know, if you took 2 people and they look at a painting, one might go, ugh, that's ugly. And somebody goes, what are you talking about? That's a masterpiece. A masterpiece. I got it done that by throwing paint on the wall. The beauty of human beings is diversity. You want to see God's beauty. You want to see what God loves. Go to the forest. Everything isn't the same. It's all different. When we can begin to appreciate those differences, we have more fulfillment in our life. But my point is, what will fulfill you may be different than the person next to you. And that's beautiful, but you got to know what fulfills you. Now, while there's no science to fulfillment, there are some patterns of power. And one of those I can tell you up front is this. If you're going to be fulfilled, 2 things you got to do. Let's see if this sounds familiar. Grow, right? If you don't grow, you don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel alive. Progress equals happiness. But if you also want real fulfillment, you need meaning. And that means you need to give. You need to contribute beyond yourself. You need to be able to find that part of yourself, find something you're passionate about giving, your heart, your history, your experience, your insight, your caring, your time, your energy, your money, your focus. We all have something to give, a skill, a gift. Everyone has it. But if we don't do it, if we just try to achieve what we want, you can get the experience of pleasure. But pleasure and fulfillment are a geometric difference. Pleasure lasts for a moment or two. It's like eating cake. It's like getting the star in your chart. It's the achievement. It's someone giving you a compliment. It's getting the Academy Award, whatever it is, whatever your metaphor is. But it doesn't last. Pretty soon it's a statue on the wall, right? Fulfillment comes because you feel like your life matters. And it matters because you've grown, and because you've grown, you have something to give. This ultimate edge is really going to go through both the strategies to get the results you want, the science of achievement, but it's also going to give you the insights, the philosophy, the core approach that they're going to give you the sense of fulfillment. Because I tell people all the time, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. I mean, you don't want to be somebody who's so famous you've seen achieve everything, make everybody else happy, and then they overdose on drugs and kill themselves. They made everybody happy but themselves. And by the way, I don't know too many people that are fulfilled who haven't achieved something. We have to achieve and we have to contribute. And I don't think they have to be separated. I'm not suggesting that you can't do one or the other more at some stage of your life. I sure have. But what I found at this stage is the integration is the ultimate gift. The integration of achievement and fulfillment, that's the ultimate edge. And what creates it all, the common denominator, that base of it all, is emotional fitness, psychological strength, which, by the way, if you're not sure you have it, you do. Everyone has emotional muscles. You may not be using them enough that you're not really fit, but they're there. And so what we're going to do in these programs is each day build some of that muscle, refine it, take on a new tool, another skill, get it a bit stronger so that it helps you to achieve and so it helps you enjoy. So let me get to the pragmatic, practical base of this first session. What is the force that ultimately unleashes your emotional fitness? Obviously, it's action. Nothing changes without new action. But the force that's even deeper than action, whether you do something or don't, whether you pull back or move forward, what's going to determine that? What's going to control that? What controls all action? Well, what happens before you take action is you have to make a decision. And every action is fathered or mothered by a decision. I mean, think about it. If you really want to know why your life has turned out the way it has, look at the decisions you've made over the last 5, 10, 15 years. I'm not suggesting that we don't face challenges, but here's what I've seen in my life, and I'm sure you've seen it too if you're honest with yourself. It's not the conditions that shape your destiny, it's your decisions. In fact, I tell people, it's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. This core understanding is the basis of everything I'm here to share with you. Everything we're going to do is about making a new choice. See, if you don't like how it is, good. If you're excited, good. If you're in between, I feel sorry for you. See, I'm hoping you're either inspired or scared, because either one of those will move you. That lukewarm, numb kind of middle area is the place you want to avoid. Those are the people that are dead inside. I don't usually get to see many of those people. I see people at the top. I see people starting a new chapter or facing a big challenge, because that's when we're looking for answers. And that's when we feel truly most alive. That's the time you got to make a new choice. That's when you got to decide. So look at your life. I know there have been tough times. I know that there's been injustices. I don't know anybody who hasn't had them. I could tell you my stories and bore you. You don't need to hear my stories of injustice. You got your own. And everybody's had moments of advantage, at least. We may not have identified them, but they were there. The question is, what did you do with it? See, sometimes it's the littlest decision that shaped our life. Think about this. Maybe you made a choice about where to go to school. It seemed like a small choice, a difficult choice, but a small choice, but it led to the friends that are still in your life, or it led to, taking on a certain kind of career, and that career has led you into a way of thinking, a way of being. If you choose to be a lawyer, you're going to have a very different life than if you're going to be a therapist. You're going to have a very different life than if you're going to be a broadcaster, very different life than if you're going to work in a coal mine, very different life than if you're going to be an entrepreneur, very different life than if you're going to be a politician. Because there are different demands, and we adapt to our environment. And after a while, whatever we get reinforced for doing, we do a lot more of. And pretty soon, that little choice about what to do for a living has shaped what you believe about the world. Little decisions can shape our life. You went to work someplace and you met the man or woman who is now your husband or wife. That decision created a family. The decisions you make about what to eat from your dinner plate each night are shaping your body and your destiny. See, decisions equal destiny. And what I want you to get is you don't have to wait to be emotionally fit. You got to decide to face what's in front of you. You got to decide to raise the standard of what you expect for yourself. You got to decide that no matter how magnificent your life is, it's time to grow, baby. Time to go to the next level. That's what's going to make me alive. Make a decision right now that says you're going to be one of the few who do, and you and I are going to complete this process together. Each day, even if you miss a day, you get right back on it. Let's do this process so that each day we're making new decisions, creating new actions. Are you up for that? I hope so. If you're listening to me right now, my bet is you probably are. But you got to structure it, schedule it, lock it in. That's a decision too, what you do with your schedule. People say, I have no time. Bull. You got all the time there is. The question is what's most important. And are you taking time for yourself? Are you taking time to consciously decide things? Are you taking time to listen to your own inner heart, to the whispers of destiny? I'm not trying to sound melodramatic, but if you don't give time to yourself just to be, you miss out on life and you find yourself unconsciously choosing just to roll with it, just to keep going. And all of a sudden, your life is over. You didn't design your life. You just reacted. I got your attention? I know you know these things in your heart already. I'm just bringing them to the forefront right now. Now, when I say decisions shape destiny, if you had to think of one or two decisions you made that have changed your life for the better, what might those be? What's a decision you made in, let's say, in a relationship or in your career, or maybe a decision about what to believe or what not to believe, about God, about life, about yourself, about possibility, about success or failure. You see, our decisions about what to believe control how we feel, and they control our actions. So ultimately, what's been one of the most powerful decisions of your life that you're proud of? We best build on success. See, if you want to change your life today, and by the way, we're going to do this the first day of personal power, I'm going to get you to make two decisions on that day. When I say I'm going to get you, I want to put you in an environment where you're going to want to, and you're going to follow through, and you're going to make some decisions that start to shift things right away. But that won't be the only day we'll do that. But think about it. If you don't like your body, change it. If you don't like your relationship, change you first. If that doesn't work and really you aren't meant for each other, then change the relationship. You don't have to wait. There's a moment when our life changes. And often people will tell me, it took me 10 years to make this change. I go, It took you a moment. It took you 10 years to get to the moment. But the moment was when you chose something, when you decided and you acted. I don't mean a decision when you said, I've decided. I mean when you made the decision and you immediately took massive action towards its achievement. When we act on something, it's a real decision. So you can change anything, but you got to get yourself in the state to do it. And by the way, there are 3 decisions you're making every moment of your life, either consciously or unconsciously. You're making those 3 decisions right now. And you may not be aware of it consciously what those decisions are, but it's happening. And you test it out, see if it's true. I'll give you the 3 right now. Figuring these out began to allow me to take control of some of my unconscious thinking and shift my life. The first decision you make every moment of your life is, what are you going to focus on? Every moment of your life, you got to decide what to focus on. Now, again, if you don't choose consciously, your brain just goes into its habits. And what do you tend to focus on? Things you value or the things you fear? Most people focus on what they're afraid of. And so their life, whatever you focus on, you feel. Wherever focus goes, energy flows. So if you keep focusing on what you fear, you bring it to life. As you think about it, it becomes alive inside of you. Have you ever had something you were totally worried about and you kept thinking about it, focusing on it, and in your gut, it was like it was happening? There's an old phrase, I never forgot it because I used to be such a worrier, not a warrior, a worrier. I'd make myself sick. And the way I did it was I think of all the worst things I was afraid were going to happen. I think about them in detail. And one day I read this little phrase. It said, a coward dies 1,000,000 times. A courageous man dies only once. And I thought, you know what? I'm feeling in my gut as if all this stuff had happened day after day. Maybe I ought to just wait. And if it really happens, then I'll take the gut hit. See, people have patterns of focus, and the first decision about what to focus on is shaping your life. For example, here's a pattern. If you've decided, consciously or unconsciously, years ago to get in the habit where you focus on what you can't control, the economy. You can shape your own finances, but you can't control the economy. You can take advantage of an uptime or a downtime, but you can't control it. If you focus on, politicians, you can influence how long they're in office, but you can't control them. If you focus on controlling the weather, if you focus on anything you can't control, and that's your pattern, I know the emotions you experience. You're not emotionally fit. You live with fear or worry or stress. When right now, truthfully, there's so much that you authentically can control. The most important things, your thoughts, your mind, your emotions, your decisions, your actions. Think about it. There's two worlds we got to master. The most important world to master is the internal world. In fact, anything you want to master in the external world, anything you want to achieve, make happen, change, starts by change in the internal world, doesn't it? It's like we talked about earlier. How to lose weight, not that difficult. Million ways to do it, million strategies, people that could coach you, people that could train you, places to do it everywhere. Put on your shoes and move, right? Books, tapes, elements, everywhere it's there. It's not hard. Getting yourself to do it, that's the inner world. And that requires taking control of focus, number one. Same thing's true with money. Same thing's true with anything else. If you master the inner world, you master your life. And to master the inner world, to have emotional fitness, you got to take control consciously of what you focus on. Some people have the pattern of focusing on the past. So guess what? If you're trying to drive into the future and you're using a rearview mirror, you're always looking in the past, you're going to crash. It's not going to happen. Some people are always focused only on the future and they're missing the present that they could enjoy. Some people only focus on the present and they miss the future and they don't anticipate what's coming. It's the ability to move around, not get locked into one approach. Am I making some sense? We're going to go into this concept of focus in much more depth, just by itself on one day. So take heart if it sounds like I'm covering a lot. Second decision you make. The minute you focus on something, where does your mind go immediately? It has to come up with, what does this mean? See, the human nervous system has to know, is this going to mean pain or pleasure? When this happened, does it mean the end, or does this mean that we're beginning? Think about it for a moment. If you think this is the end of a relationship, are you going to feel the same way? Are you going to act the same way if you think it's the beginning? No. People at the end say things that they don't say in the beginning. They do things differently than they do in the beginning. Whatever meaning you give to an experience, it becomes. It becomes it. Because you accept it. You make it a belief within you. And most of us are unconscious about what things mean. If there's this big problem, some people's meaning for that is, God is punishing me for something I did long ago. As long as you believe that, it'll be true in your body and your experience, even if it's not true in life. Haven't you given something a meaning? You thought somebody was so upset with you, or they took advantage of you and you were upset with them or hurt by them. And then one day you found out they weren't hurting you. It wasn't true. You had misinformation. And you felt like an idiot. Meaning is so powerful. And if you don't consciously choose, your old patterns show up. Come up with an empowering meaning, you change everything. Come up with a disempowering meaning, it's over. So is this God punishing you? Or is God challenging you? Or it's not God at all. You're challenging yourself. You created the problem. Or is this a gift? A one-word change in the meaning completely changes how you feel and what you'll do. And if you want to know what life is, if you want to know what extraordinary life is, I can tell you what it comes down to: the emotions you feel. See, if you got every goal you've ever achieved, you have a perfect family, you've, gotten every award achievement you've made, all the money you could dream of, billions of dollars, and everything in your life is perfect. But each day you have the habit of focusing on what you can't control, or focusing on some aspect of life that's not really a great thing for you right now. And you give the meaning of life as something that you should feel guilty for being successful, or you should feel stressed because it's not going to last. If the predominant emotions of your life are guilt or stress or anger, then your children don't matter. $1 billion doesn't matter. If you've got $1 billion and you live with fear and stress, your life is fear and stress. I've dealt with people like this, trust me. I'm not giving you some made-up example. People that seem to have everything and they're miserable. Everything, mentally, emotionally, relationships, finances. They have the opportunity to be spiritually connected. My God, if there's any evidence that you've been blessed, it's all around you. But they're missing the boat because they gave it a lousy meaning. Finally, what's the third decision? Once you focus on something and give it a meaning, it produces an emotion. Those emotions filter what you do. Think about it. The third decision is, what am I going to do? Well, if you're angry as hell, are you going to do something different than if you're feeling grateful? If you're fearful and worried and stressed, are you going to do something different than if you feel determined or curious or playful? So the meaning powerfully affects what you're going to do. And I'll tell you the other thing affects what you decide to do. Your role models. That's why you need more examples of not only people that have gone to the next level. I mean, I hear people all the time say, well, I don't know any couples that really truly are on love. Or you're the only couple, if they're friends of ours, you're only a couple we know that, I really know you guys passionately love each other. But, there aren't any other examples. Well, since when do you base your life on everybody else? You just define a role model, or if there isn't one, become that role model. But there are. Trust me, there's not that much that's unique in human beings. Whatever's been achieved, whatever's been accomplished, someone else has done that thing greater or more than you've ever dreamed of. All you got to do is look for it, and they can show you a pathway to power. They can show you a better strategy, a better tool. You may not have access to them directly, but you can read it, you can learn it, you can study it, especially these days. My point is, the three decisions that are controlling your life right now is, what are you focusing on? Because right now you might be focusing on, does this guy ever take a breath? Or you might be focusing on, man, this makes sense. Or I'm excited. I can see now why this is going to work. I can see a step at a time how I'm going to move myself from where I am to the life I really want to live at the newest level now. I really see the fundamentals are here. This is real. You might give it that meaning, or you might give it, it's just a pump up. Whatever meaning you give is going to give you some emotion, and that emotion is going to decide whether you keep listening or whether you put me on pause if you have to use the restroom and get right back to me, right? It all comes down to these three decisions. They're shaping your life moment to moment. If you take control of them, everything changes. So breathe for a moment. I'll do the same. We want to take a little sip of water, and let me give you the final understanding that really shapes all of this. By the way, if you're thinking, my goodness, this session's still going on, there's another part of it, I understand. This is the longest session because it's the first immersion. I want to give you the overview of what it is we're doing here, about what's controlling your decision-making in your life. Tomorrow, unless you break this one into 2 sessions, which you can do, but otherwise, the next session, after we finish this Decisions and Destiny session together, which is continuing, is going to be on your hour of power. We're going to go into the conditioning tool. If you get yourself to do something consistently, it's a habit. It's conditioned. That's what the hour of power is about. Once those 2 sessions are done, this kind of launch package, if you will, of inner strength, then you're going to begin personal power. Personal power is the most successful program of all time. And each little session, it's a brief session. Some are like 30, 35 minutes. So it's not anywhere near this length. And each one, you're going to get a single tool. You're going to apply it to your life that day. You're going to get results. Come back the next day to go to day 2 and so on and so on. And you're going to get tremendous momentum. So are you still with me? Good. Then let's continue here with the second part of session 1, Decisions and Destiny.